the witness to view the criminal at the time of the crime. 2, the witness's degree of attention. 3, the accuracy of the witness's prior description of the criminal. And 4, the level of certainty demonstrated at the identification. And 5, the length of time between the crime and the identification. When the Manson-Biggers balancing test is applied to the facts of this case, the reliability of the witness ID is non-existent. DM is the only person alive who is known to have seen the intruder. She only saw the intruder briefly. Her recollection or lack thereof is filled with uncertainty, fuzziness, the influence of alcohol, dreaming, and sleepiness. She did not see the intruder well enough to describe him to a composite artist. After Mr. Kohberger was arrested, she did not recognize him from a photo. So these are all facts that the defense is putting out. So we go down to the relevant facts, and this is where we're going to get some details on DM's interviews. Let's see. Who did we have join? Oh, see who she who sees. You always get me on that tongue twister. Thank you for 4 months, almost halfway for a J baby. You got it. That bun is cooking, baby. All right. Thank you for your support. Bushy eyebrows. Number 1. Interviews on November 13th, 2022. On November 13th, 2022, Dylan Mortensen was inside the house when the murders occurred and saw a figure dressed in black. Hereinafter, the intruder. When she peeked out her bedroom door around 4 a.m., shortly after seeing the intruder, she went downstairs to Bethany Funk's room. So we hear in this that Dylan did end up downstairs with Bethany, right? The 2 girls fell asleep. Roughly 8 hours later, a 911 call was made from Bethany's phone at 11:56 a.m., which we've played. More than 8 hours after seeing the intruder, DM was interviewed by law enforcement at the scene and at the police department. It was confusing to DM that the intruder looked at her, but did not come towards her or say anything. So this was an interview she did with Nunez, because it says here that it's Exhibit 2, the body cam transcript of Nunez. So, so when she described the intruder to Officer Nunez at the scene, she described the height, build, and clothing of the intruder. Her description did not mention eyebrows. So when she first talked to Officer Nunez, there was no bushy eyebrows mentioned. When she called Bethany Funk before going downstairs to Bethany's room, Dylan said she was kind of, quote, in and out of it. I was really tired. And we were talking about this last night in Discord a little bit. Remember being 19 and getting drunk? Most of us did it. Now imagine when you get home. Remember having a night out of partying when you were a teenager or young 20s, and you finally get home and you finally get in your own bed. Like, I remember being the type of person that would party, and I could not wait to get home to my own bed. And I was one of those people that didn't want to sleep anywhere. I wanted my bed. And when I got home to my bed, oh boy, did I love my bed. You know what I'm saying? Like, that bed was the most comfortable that it's ever been. So she gets in her, it's like the best feeling in the world, right? So you get in your bed and you're all like, oh, you just crash. Well, then you get woken up, right? So what state of mind are you going to be in when you wake up? And, you might be thinking that people are effing around first. You're still like that with your bed, Gigi? you got to think of the the people that were in and out of that house. There were pranks, and stuff like that. So let's keep going. All right. So when she described it to Officer Nunez, she didn't mention the eyebrows. She said she was in and out of it. I was really tired. Later, when she was interviewed at the police department, she was now interviewed by Detective Maui, and he inquired about facial features. So Nunez just asked her to describe height, build, clothing, right? And we don't know if he asked her to do that or if that's just what she offered. Like Nunez could have said, what kind of clothes was he wearing? What's his height? What was his build? Da, da, da. But then Detective Maui actually asked about the facial features and asked DM. Now, look at this. This is true because it's Exhibit E3, the Maui interview transcript. Detective Maui inquired about facial features, which is normal, right? Like nose, mouth, cheekbones, stuff like that. But then Detective Maui asked DM if she knew what color the intruder's eyebrows were. Is that an odd question, do you think? Hey, Rebel. It's good to see you. But do you guys think that is a weird, question? Like, what color were the eyebrows? I mean, usually eyebrows are brown unless you have, red hair or you're, really, really blonde and you have light eyebrows, right? Some people have light eyebrows. But to ask, I've never heard anyone ask, what color were their eyebrows? Oh, I guess maybe because she said all she could see was the eyebrows. That makes sense. That makes total sense. She did not know the color of the intruder's eyes or eyebrows. What do you think of that? He asked her, what color? She said, I don't know. She said, quote, everything was kind of blurry. Like, I don't fully remember it, end quote. So she tells him all I could see was his eyebrows. He says, okay, well, describe them. What color are they? She says, I don't know. That may be a way to determine hair color. Right. That makes sense. But she didn't remember. So during the Maui interview, Dylan again mentioned that she was, quote, in and out of it because she was so tired. So I think in and out of it, drunk. Number 2, pictures on November 13th of 2022. Law enforcement took pictures of Dylan's room on November 13th, 2022 and November 19th of 2022. On her walls in her room were many pictures of eyes. Now look here. It says, I'm just reading these footnotes. Okay. With prominent eyebrows. So on the walls in her room were many pictures of eyes with prominent eyebrows, many of which she had drawn. Some of the eyebrows are heavy, voluminous, puffy, or perhaps subjectively bushy. And then they have the pictures as evidence. According to Detective Lake, he found, quote, artwork of human figures with an emphasis upon the eyes and eyebrows were pinned to corkboards, end quote. So do you think it's weird that they pointed out, now I don't know who Detective Lake is or where he's from. Maybe he's ISP. But do you find it odd that she had, was she an artist? We don't know. We don't know the context. Maybe she's an artist. Maybe she likes drawing eyes. Maybe she likes doing makeup. I don't know. Maybe she was picking out eyebrow, I don't know, eyebrow. What do you mean? Like, I don't know, like examples. Hey, Crystal. I don't know. I mean, it sounds like maybe she likes to draw. Maybe she likes to draw faces. I don't know. I would like to know more. And then it says number 3, the interview on November 17th of 2022. On November 17th, 4 days later, Dylan was interviewed by Detective Gooch and indicated that she was really asleep and probably very drunk when she woke up around 4 a.m. on November 13th, 2022. So in this interview, she met with Detective Gooch and Blaker. Blaker also wrote one of the PCAs, remember? I know, Gooch. These names. Throughout the interview, Dylan expressed uncertainty about what she heard and saw and did not know if it was real or if it was a dream or if her mind was playing with her. Quote, it just doesn't make sense. Dylan described the intruder and told Detective Gooch that she recalls seeing his eyebrows, his bushy eyebrows, but she did not recall the color of the eyebrows. She did not remember the eyes or the mouth, just the eyebrows. When she saw the intruder, she thought that the intruder was about 3 feet away from her, but that could be off, since she was, quote, still a little bit drunk, end quote. She did not think she could remember enough to give composite for a composite artist. She could just recall the bushy eyebrows, but not the shape or color of them. In this interview, Detective Gooch asked if Dylan had anxiety, which led to Dylan stating that she had a lot of lucid dreams of being kidnapped or chased. She indicated that she watched Criminal Minds and fell asleep to crime podcasts. These lucid dreams began in high school. What do you think of that? So she's admitting to having dreams about being kidnapped or chased even before this happened. Another interview on December 1st. A half of a month later, DM was interviewed again and described the intruder. She did not see his eyes, but she saw, quote, one eyebrow or two. But it was just like this bushy eyebrow, end quote. Do you guys think that she's going to be credible if she testifies? I mean, she's the one that testified in front of the grand jury, you guys. She testified this in front of the grand jury. So what did she say in front of the grand jury? All right, get your votes in. Yeah, the mind has a crazy way of coping with trauma, but does it still, if they used her for the grand jury, you think they'll still use her? I'm a little torn as well. I mean, I don't know what came out in the grand jury. You know what I mean? Okay, so it gets worse. All right. So then she says throughout the interview, she indicated she always had really bad dreams. She did not know what parts of her recollections were dreams and which part were real. When she woke up that morning, she did not fully understand what was a dream or not. In this interview, she stated that she thought that the person she saw was a fireman. She thought she saw a fireman. Right. And is the jury going to be torn, Gigi? Gigi's like, that's exactly why I'm torn. How does she know what is dream versus reality? How's the jury going to sit? How's that going to sit with a jury? Mm-hmm. So it makes you wonder, were these kids taking hallucinogenics? I don't know. It's just kind of wild. Okay, so number 5, the statement in the affidavit to support the arrest of Brian Koberger. On December 29th, 2022, a statement submitted by law enforcement in support of the arrest warrant used descriptive information from DM's interviews. Quote, DM described the figure as 5'10" or taller, male, not very muscular, but athletically built with bushy eyebrows. This is from the statement of Brett Payne. So that was actually put in the PCA. Thank you so much, Shell. Keep up the great work you do. Thank you, Shell. We are one away from viewer's choice. Evelyn, 11 months. Thank you for your support. I was wondering if the kids were on something other than alcohol. It will be up to the jury to weigh her testimony. Hey, true crime and other stuff. I don't know, Jay, but the fact that her roommates were murdered the night she dreamed about a masked guy kind of debunks it being a dream. Dylan is reliable for timeline and knowing his size and knowing it was one guy. Yes, Mike. Good point. Maybe she just doesn't want to remember your mind is a powerful thing when you're going through something like that. Something traumatic. But the fact is, she's saying she, can't even remember what they looked like, if there was a unibrow, if it was two brows. But then they put it in the affidavit to put in front of the judge, right? Do you think they should have done that? I mean, that's part of the evidence they put in front of a judge. Like, oh, she said he had bushy eyebrows. It's like Koberger's like trolling them. For making it happen. I want to say thank you. Brittany, she testified in front of the grand jury, but at that time the defense is not able to rebut. Right. Goal met. Thank you so much. Who met our goal? Nicole G, thank you so much. Love deep dives with you. Happy Monday. Happy Monday to you, too. It's me, Mike. BK knows he's busted. He just wants trial to relive the crime. Yeah, I think he really thinks that he, could have committed the perfect crime. Did anyone take a shower at 4:30? Why do you ask that, Be Well? You guys need to tell me what kind of stream you want to do. It's viewer's choice. Whatever you guys want to do. Let's start throwing some ideas up in chat while I keep reading. So after Brian Koberger's arrest on December 30th of 2022, Dylan was again interviewed by Detective Lake and Detective Tollison. When she learned that an arrest had been made, she found a mugshot of Mr. Koberger online. When asked if Mr. Koberger was the person she saw in the house, she did not know if Mr. Koberger was the intruder. She knew that the intruder had looked at her because of the, quote, bushy eyebrow. All that she remembered is, quote, some bushy eyebrow and all black and some sort of mask. Now, here we go. Grand jury testimony. So Dylan Mortensen went in front of the grand jury on May 15th of 2023. I can't imagine how nervous this girl was. Hey, 911. I feel like Alabama says, I feel like their actions are questionable, but I could also sympathize that they could have lost their life too that night and their BFFs died. I don't know that call. Broke my heart for them. Yeah. So here's the grand jury on May 15th, 2023. Subsequently, Dylan provided grand jury testimony and was questioned about what the intruder was wearing. She was again uncertain, and that testimony is attached, but not quoted verbatim here. So we have the motion in limine, Exhibit 10 of the grand jury testimony. So she said she wasn't sure what he was wearing at that time. So not even the all black. Jay, whatever happened to innocent until proven guilty? Well, I mean, if you're a juror, that's very important, right? We're not jurors. We can discuss. We can go with our gut. You know what I mean? We're not on the jury. Okay, so the reliability. Oh, thank you, Ishi.
For making it happen. I want to say thank you for making it happen.
$9.99. Thank you. Thank you so much, Ishi. Even though her mind is obviously not right, explain his car being in that area repeatedly. Why was he there that often? Makes no sense. Well, I guess we have to see all the evidence, Brittany. Like, we don't know all the evidence yet. Hopefully, they have more than what we're seeing. Reliability of witness ID, opportunity to view. DM peeked out her door 3 times after 4 a.m. on November 13th, 2022. The third time, she saw a figure dressed in black. At the scene, she described the intruder as, quote, he was a little bit taller than me, and I couldn't really see much of him, but I'm almost positive he was wearing a full black outfit, and he had this mask that was just over his forehead and over his mouth, and he didn't say anything to me, like, at all. That's from Nunez's body cam. I'm going to read it again. This is exactly what she said. He was a little bit taller than me, and I couldn't really see much of him, but I'm almost positive he was wearing a full black outfit, and he had this mask that was just over his forehead and over his mouth, and he didn't say anything to me, like, at all. At the police department, her description of the intruder was similar. Quote, and then I opened the door again, and the guy is right there. And he's maybe my height, a few inches taller, not like skinny, athletic build. He has all black. He's wearing this mask that covers just his forehead. And here, and it goes like around, he was white. This is from the Detective Maui interview transcript. There were no lights on the stairs. Dylan was uncertain whether either the kitchen light or the bathroom light was on. The kitchen light might have been on, but the twinkle lights in the living room may have been on. So she was unclear about the lighting too. Degree of attention. Dylan acknowledged that her brain might have been fuzzy due to alcohol and sleepiness when she saw the intruder. She stated that she had been drinking alcohol just hours prior to peeking out her bedroom door around 4 a.m. and seeing an intruder. She was intoxicated when she arrived home around 1:15, 1:30-ish. She was probably, quote, very drunk, end quote, and tired when she saw the intruder at 4 a.m. So she's intoxicated. She gets home at 1:15, 1:30, and then she's texting the private driver at 2 and asking if he's still driving while she's very intoxicated. What do you guys think of that? You taken off vibrator? It also bothers me that they found blood DNA on the downstairs railing to the first floor. The killer didn't go to the first floor, but Dylan did. Right. The blood on the railing, it was on the front by the front door. How do you identify somebody wearing a mask if their face is covered up and all you see is their eyebrow? On top of them, that she didn't recognize him looking at a photo. I think she may have texted the driver to see if she could get a ride somewhere. Didn't Kaylee and Maddie get home at like 1:56 or something like that? Regina Phalange, I believe DM. I've blacked out moments in my life when I was scared of being hurt. She never lied and said it was BK, but she knows those prominent eyes. You think, though, she would have remembered his eyes when seeing his mugshot. Mother of Cycle Breakers. Yeah, I saw a statement from the driver. I'd still like to know more about him. No, she texted the driver after Kaylee and Maddie got home. Yeah, so Eric drops them off at 1:56, drops off Kaylee and Maddie at 1:56, and then Dylan texts Eric 15 minutes later. Was the blood fresh or from past carrying on from parties? Right. Mike says, I was home invaded once. I have no idea what their faces look like. I can't remember. It's weird. I would be a horrible, horrible eyewitness. I don't remember anything. Hey, EG, did you hear any commotion as KG and MM walked in? Well, no, they're saying that it was 4 a.m., so it was like 2 hours later. They didn't say, Roro, if the driver answered back. They just said that they're using her text to the driver to establish a timeline of that night. What's LL? Linda Lane? Mia says, I'm scared that the jurors will convict regardless out of fear of backlash. Beckles, and didn't the defense lawyer state that his car is not in that area? She does, but that doesn't mean it's true. Linda Lane. I wonder if KG or MM lost something. ID, money, card. So they did. I will call CC. You call Grub Truck. You call EG. Yeah, maybe PC. Maybe. Maybe she thought she left. Well, but she asked if he was driving, not like, hey, did, Kaylee leave something in your car? NH Girl, can you do a quick poll and see what chat thinks? Yeah, sure. We're 60-40 on Dylan being a reliable witness. All right. Do you think BK is the killer? You're only getting yes and no's. They didn't release explicit text from DM to EG. Why not? I don't know. They said they weren't even using it for anything else other than a timeline. Because the girls got dropped off at 1:56 and then she texted him 15 minutes later and was like, are you still driving? I mean, where could she have wanted a ride to if she was going to bed, You need I don't know. All right, let me redo it. I never put I don't know. But I will. Okay, is BK the killer? All right, there you go. Even if you think someone else is involved, you would check yes on this poll. As of right now, knowing what you know, do you think they have the right person? Or are you still on the fence? And if you're on the fence, that's fine. Maybe you don't have enough information. You want to wait. Like true crime and other stuff just said. I think she called to confirm he brought the other girls home. No one was replying. Yeah, but the time doesn't make sense. They weren't replying until 4 o'clock. She texted Kaylee at 4 o'clock. What's going on? She would know they were home because they were all up, remember? The murders didn't occur until 2 hours later. They didn't even bother. No, Regina, they didn't even bother to test it. It's not that it didn't have enough DNA sequence. They didn't even test it. We don't know that it wasn't enough to test. They said they didn't need to test it. They had a reason for it, and it wasn't that. I don't know. They could have a smoking gun, though. Ann D says, in my opinion, people are making a big deal out of Dylan not being able to ID him, but she never claimed to be able to. I need more, but I'm waiting. So 45% of you say yes, 15% say no, 39% are on the fence. Yeah, I can't remember what the reason was. It was like they didn't feel it was necessary. Same with the glove. They never tested it. Maybe she wanted more alcohol but didn't want to drive. She's not old enough to buy alcohol. You think that Eric guy is going to risk his job buying alcohol for them? You're wearing a tinfoil hat? Aristocat? I bet his phone and car will tell the story. Okay, let's keep going. Accuracy of description. When asked if she could see the intruder's face, she testified, I wouldn't say I fully remember their face, but I remember seeing his eyebrows. So at some point, I probably did see his face and I don't remember it. This is what she said to the grand jury. So she was asked if she could see the intruder's face, and she told the grand jury, quote, I wouldn't say I fully remember their face, but I remember seeing his eyebrows. So at some point, I probably did see his face, and I don't remember it. During other interviews, she said he was wearing a mask. During each interview, DM was uncertain. On December 30th, 2022, after the arrest of Mr. Koberger, Dylan was interviewed by Detective Lake and Detective Tolson. When she learned that an arrest had been made, she found a mugshot of Mr. Koberger online. When asked if Mr. Koberger was the person she saw in the house, she did not know Mr. Koberger was the intruder. She knew that the man had looked at her because of the bushy eyebrow. All that she remembered is some bushy eyebrow and all black and some sort of mask. Several weeks after the murders, DM thought that she saw a fireman. In her mind, DM thought the intruder went out the back sliding door, but she doesn't know, quote, if he actually went out the back door, end quote. Right? Because she locked herself in her room. So she doesn't really know if he went out the back door. The sliding back door was not visible from the doorway of DM's bedroom. The time between the event and ID. At approximately 4 a.m., on November 13th, 2022, DM saw the intruder. Roughly 8 hours later, the 911 call was made. More than 8 hours after seeing the intruder, DM provided a very limited and uncertain description of the intruder to 2 different officers. On November 17th, 4 days later, DM did not think she could sufficiently describe the intruder for a composite artist. On December 30th, After Mr. Koberger's arrest, she could not recognize Mr. Koberger from a photo. Further, by the time that DM testifies at trial later this year, more than 3.5 years will have passed since the murders occurred. Then they go into their argument. It says here, she has repeatedly, each time interviewed, expressed uncertainty about what she saw. These general descriptors could fit millions of individuals. Her uncertainty is repeated in each interview, and at least 8 hours passed before she interviewed the first time. 6 weeks passed before she was interviewed for the final time, and 6 months when she testified before the grand jury. Balancing the Manson-Biggers factors, there is no reliability of the physical characteristics that Dylan has reported. Hey, Jammers, Mr. Koberger does not have bushy eyebrows, but the artwork on DM's wall and that would... Wait. But the artwork on Dylan's wall and that which should draws... That doesn't even make sense. And that which she draws eyes with eyebrows could be described as bushy, full, or prominent. There is a great risk that at trial in front of a jury, her testimony will be viewed as a clear identification of Mr. Koberger. This would be a false ID and would prejudice the proceedings in a way that must be avoided. In this case, evidence of bushy eyebrows is not relevant to the crimes charged and would not tend to make any material or disputed fact of the crimes charged in this case more probable or less probable than it would be without the evidence. The purpose for admitting such testimony is for ID purposes. Given the argument above, such testimony is inadmissible. There is no other relevant reason to allow this testimony. So they're asking them to exclude the bushy eyebrows.